The Fed kept interest rates near 0% for a decade. It was the most exaggerated monetary policy ever conceived in the US. Today we watch as we have achieved supposedly full employment, a booming economy, and developed a sense of amnesia. Policymakers seem to have forgotten why they are in this position in the first place. Why are rates so low and nobody dare increase them to an appropriate level? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today, we're going to have our focus on the Fed. Let's begin. Fed's Williams calls for global rethink of monetary policy. So right now, there is supposedly this relative economic calm, and as a result, we need to plan for the future. So he made a speech. And I decided to find this source and look it up and show you that today. I always show you the exact source of where the information comes from. This speech here from Williams has some very interesting points. Very interesting. So there's always this zero lower bound, and they feel that they are bound by the floor. But in some countries, and they mention it here, they have gone even below that. 0%, it's not enough. And that's the topic for today. If interest rates are only around 2 to 3% when the next recession hits, conventional monetary policy will have lost much of its punch. We won't be able to cut interest rates by the typical 5 percentage points to stimulate the economy because we'll quickly hit the zero lower bound. And now they'll have to get into unconventional monetary policy. And what are they talking about? Forward guidance and quantitative easing to get the economy back on track. And they even say, last time we avoided negative interest rates, which they are doing in Denmark, Sweden, Switzerland, and Japan. But so far, we've been okay. We haven't had to do that. So what are they going to do? Well, the next time around, as they say here, let's say it's 2 or 3%, they want to bring those rates down by 5%. They're going to be going into the negative by, let's say, 2%. And then we have an issue. You cannot get away with negative interest rates. It always ruins the economy over a long period of time. And we're not talking about bringing them into the negative for 6 months or a year under an emergency scenario. No. It's there for a long period of time. And then, of course, the same situation will occur. Let's say it's negative 2% on the interest rates. And a decade passes, things are apparently better, and they've been increasing rates to 0. So now they're back at 0%. But another economic crisis is unfolding. So what do? Okay, this time around, minus 5%. And it just continues over and over again. You can't get away with it because nothing has been resolved in the first place. If you resolve the problems, everything can be turned around. I'm all in favor of resolving the issues and then readdressing everything. Doesn't happen like that, unfortunately. Negative interest rates are the talk of the town. So, some of the options that they've put on the table here, I'll cover them. One approach is to plan on relying on unconventional policy tools, that is, follow the same playbook as during the past decade and hope it suffices. Okay, print money, lower interest rates, and let's see where that goes. A second is to find ways to make the lower bound more negative, giving conventional monetary policy more room to maneuver. I mean, my goodness, I smacked myself in the face trying to wake myself up from this dream. Are they crazy? A third is to raise the inflation target. That's right. Print a hell of a lot more money. Instead of trying to keep interest rates at 2%, get them at 5% inflation rates. And what they'll do is, of course, hurt people in every way imaginable. Their energy bills, their food bills, and so on. And they'll do so. They will do this. It's not going to take much to have them increase their balance sheets. They love it, and it's part of their plans. Somebody else out there had talked about negative interest rates. None other than the former Fed chair, Janet Yellen. This is a quote from before she was the chair. If it were positive to take interest rates into the negative territory, I would be voting for that. And this was in 2010. You can see that the unemployment rate, 9.7% at that time, the official rate, of course. And Janet Yellen said, what we need to do is bring interest rates down into the negative territory, get the economy going again. And even as the chair, she was making similar suggestions. She said, that is an option. Let's, have that be an option. Let's put it on the table. Let's discuss it. And it was never done. I mean, in real terms, it could be negative, but at least their Fed funds rate. And so what's going to happen next time around? I think it's pretty obvious. But I'm not allowed to talk about that because I get criticized all the time, which I find very strange. This is like documented facts, and I just show you them, and somehow the criticism continues. All right. And another gentleman who suggested that we have a little funny business. And of course, all central banking is funny business. And that is none other than Ben Bernanke. Ben Bernanke, in 2002, had this epic speech. If you haven't read it for yourself, you've probably read some of the quotes from it. Definitely. Do yourself a favor and read this speech. All you need to do is go to a search engine, type in Fed speech Ben Bernanke 2002. You will get the speech. It's not that long. And you can read it in one sitting. And the things that he goes over, I mean, he totally talks about everything that I talk about consistently. And he said, this is what we need to do in order to prevent deflation. That's what this whole speech is about. Unlike some central banks, and barring changes to current law, the Fed is relatively restricted in its ability to buy private securities directly. However, the Fed does have broad powers to lend the private sector indirectly via banks through the discount window. Therefore, a second policy option, complementary to operating the markets for Treasury and agency debt, will be for the Fed to offer fixed-term loans to banks at low or zero interest with a wide range of private assets, including corporate bonds, commercial paper, bank loans, and mortgages, deemed eligible as collateral. And it goes on. They will buy the debt of corporations. They will do anything through backdoor channels. He actually says in this speech that they will devalue the currency by 40% if necessary. They will engage in any form of stimulus that they can do. Quantitative easing to the max, bringing interest rates all the way down to the ground, and every other measure you can think of. He talks about it in here. There's no part in this I can't cover, so I just picked one. It's all extremely valuable to read this. Seeing these individuals and the way they talk about this, that they will be willing to just eviscerate the savings of people. They don't care. They really don't give a damn. It is quite sad to see it because they have full control. Alan Greenspan said it. There is no agency that can tell us what to do. And that's the way it goes. Alright, that's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. If you love the Federal Reserve, then give me a thumbs down. Alright, last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you will find my books, The Money GPS and my newer release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. You can flip through these books. Amazon has a look inside feature that's going to allow you to flip through the pages of these books to see if you like them. Take care.